Hello and welcome to Reflections. As you may notice, Rhonda's missing today, and we hope she feels better. And so I'm filling in, and today we have our regular guests, Miss Ruthie Wyburn and Miss Kimberly Johnson with us, and I'm so glad because y'all'd be really bored sitting up here looking at me for 45 minutes, 50 minutes. So anyways, we are going to do kind of a follow-up today, and we wish it was right on the date because I think this is a very worthwhile thing to talk about. And that is February 28th is Rare Disease Day. It has been celebrated for 5 years in the U.S. This will be its 5th year. And it was started in Europe in 2008. And it was announced, or kind of U.S. was brought into it in 2009 by the National Organization for Rare Diseases, or NORD, which has actually been around 30 years, from 1983. And each year there's a theme to what they do. And the theme this year is Rare Diseases Without Borders. And kind of one of the slogans that's on there is, alone we are rare, together we're strong. So they're really wanting to break down the borders between the countries around the globe and make this a known thing, because in the U.S. alone, 30 million Americans are affected by rare diseases. And a rare disease is typically classed as affecting less than 200,000 people. So there's several websites you can go to out there. And the reason we're bringing this up is we talked with Miss Beverly Julian a few weeks ago about Prader-Willi syndrome, which is a disease that affects people. A lot of times it's found in children. They seem to have like a failure to thrive at first, but then what ends up happening is that they have like an insatiable appetite. They can't keep from eating. And of course they become obese, and they have other issues. And so she has actually worked in a group home and worked with people with this disease and how they help them. And it was just a wonderful story to hear about. And it brought some awareness. And then we mentioned on the show, I think last week, that we actually know somebody who heard the information and thought, I think this might apply to somebody. And then they told somebody, and who knows, it may be something that helps somebody out. So we want to help raise awareness for this. Rare Disease Day is celebrated always on the last day of February. This year it falls on the 28th. And there's several things you can do to get involved. One is go to the website rarediseaseday.us. You can click on a link called Take Action, and it will take you to different things you can do. Some of them, they all seem pretty simple. One of them is extremely simple. You can print out this little flyer. It says rarediseaseday.us, February 28, 2013, handprints across America. You can have somebody take your picture holding this, and then you just fill out the little form that's right there under the handprints across America link, and send it to them, and they'll add your picture to the gallery, showing and helping to raise awareness for all the rare diseases. Super simple. The other one that was on there was that you just click a link called Raise Your Hand, and you don't even have to make the donation. It is made for you by the Lundbeck Foundation. $1 is donated when you click the link.
Wow.
So how simple can that be? And it's something small we can do to help raise awareness. So, ladies, I'm going to call out a couple names of some diseases here, just a couple, that you've probably heard of. And just let me know if you've heard of these before. Bell's palsy.
Yes.
Okay, it is considered a rare disease. Alopecia. It's considered a rare disease. But there's a lot of rare diseases that you haven't heard of. There's a whole database. And if you go to the raredisease.org website, there's a whole database where you can pull up the different diseases. You can pull up PDFs for each one that have the newest and best information on them, the symptoms, and to check it because, like I said, 30 million Americans are affected by this. I was just going to mention one today. We had thought that, in helping to raise awareness, we could mention one here. Find it. It's called Low syndrome, and it typically affects mostly ocular or vision issues, and it's a congenital cataracts, basically. The children are born with these cataracts, and they typically start developing at 8 weeks gestation. And it goes on to later in life. It doesn't usually present at birth, but glaucoma. And just a whole list of other things. Neurological issues, renal, dealing with kidneys and kidney functions, musculoskeletal. So, there's just sexual development, tons of different things that are affected. So people, you can do something as simple as just clicking on a link and just browsing through some names you've heard of, like I mentioned, and some of them you haven't. But if we can do something so small as just to click a link, add a badge to our Facebook page, or print out a flyer and take a picture with it, or click on a link where somebody else makes the donation, that's a little thing we can do. So, do you ladies know of anybody that has any of these rare diseases? Or
My first husband did. He had myasthenia gravis, which is similar to MS, MD, lupus, those kind. And it usually starts in the lower extremities, but his started in his eyes. His left eyelid, he couldn't open it one morning, and it just stayed closed. And they diagnosed him with ocular myasthenia gravis, and then it went down where he couldn't whistle. It affected his lips and stuff, and then he couldn't chew his food. Then he'd get to where he couldn't swallow his own saliva, so they'd put him in the hospital and rearrange his medication and change it so that the doses were different and taken at different times. And so you have to keep up with when he takes what and this type of stuff. And then they gave him prednisone to help the medication. And that didn't always work because you can only take it a certain length of time. And then he was having a lot of pain, so they gave him morphine, and he had one dose when he went to bed at night, and then he had another dose at 2 different times during the day. And so it's a chore keeping up with all this medication. And he got to where he couldn't walk very well, and he couldn't drive. And this was hard on him because he loved to drive. Yes, he loved to drive. But he was in and out of the hospital a lot. And then they did a experimental thing on him to see if that would help. And I don't understand it other than they take some of the blood out and separate the blood plasma from the platelets, homogenize or pasteurize. Anyway, they do something to the blood, and then they put it back together, and then they put it back in, and you wait 2 days, and you do it again. And I think the total number is 6. He took 5, but he just went downhill from then. And that happened in October of 1999, and he passed away April 1st of 2000. So
that was early on after this National Organization of Rare Diseases was even founded, just a few years later.
Yeah.
So.
But at the time, there was only 5 people in the Spokane, Washington area that they knew of that had this disease. So it was.
And that's what some of these, sometimes symptoms and stuff are presenting themselves to people, and no one's ever heard of it. They can't categorize it. They're waiting for a diagnosis, and then when they get a diagnosis, sometimes it might even be an incorrect diagnosis. And so it's just, raising awareness that there are things out there. There's so many things out there that we don't understand and we don't know. And, it's easy to pass judgment on people or to say, a person's acting really strange or looks a little strange, and we just don't know what they're dealing with. So,
no, I don't know anyone personally. I was just thinking, though, when Sister Ruth was telling us about her husband, that it would be harder to diagnose and treat because you don't have as many patients to work with, and it's heartbreaking that an experimental surgery is actually what started him going downhill. But I don't imagine there was anything else they could do since it's rare. It's not like they have the funding or the resources or even the patience to try to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
Well, we were lucky financially because he was going to the VA already for a previous problem, and the VA took over his care, so I didn't have a lot of financial medical stuff. And when he passed away in a hospice unit in the Spokane, Washington VA hospital, and they paid to transport him back to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, where we lived, and they paid for his burial site. The only thing I had to come up with was the cement vault that they have to have, or whatever it's called that the coffin has to go in. That's all the money I had to come up with, which made it really, really better because I didn't
Well,
have
just
to come
think
up.
if we had
Yeah.
it today. It's crazy. I mean, we have a lot more advances, so there might have been, a lot more they could do for them, but at the same time, the cost of stuff is just
Yes.
pretty astronomical. Well, the good news is that in 2012, 60 countries participated in Rare Disease Day, and that's wonderful. So the word is getting out. More and more people are getting involved because, things like cancer and leukemia is a form of cancer, I'm sorry. But cancer and diabetes and heart disease and things like this, they always get a lot of mention, and they should. I mean, any disease out there should get mentioned, should get awareness. People should do something. Like I said, there's organizations out there that if you just click a link, they're going to donate money, or you could donate money. But simply just mentioning it is something that can help. So I hope we've done something, and with mentioning something, one person gets helped, or one person finds a database, they've got symptoms going on that they can go and look. That's what we want. We want to see people blessed and helped. And came across an article that I just thought was super cute, but it also makes you kind of think. There was a lady, and her name was Dorothy, and she lived in Kansas. And this is not a story of the Wizard of Oz, although it's very kind of neat because it kind of has some similarities there. But there was a lady named Dorothy who lived in Kansas, and she was 92 years old, and her final wish was to fly over her Kansas home in a motorized parachute because she'd seen a guy flying over her home in a motorized parachute. So her granddaughter, Holly Ellis, explained in a video description that her grandmother had revealed this wish, and people helped out with it. It took several people, her hospice nurse, and all kinds of things to figure it out. Now, her granddaughter first said that it shocked the hell out of them when they heard this, that their 92-year-old grandmother, whose hospice is involved in, wants to fly over her Kansas home. But she wanted to do it, and they said, why not? And the grandmother said, I figured I'm going to go one way or another by now. So I thought that was wonderful. But they helped to fulfill the request. And there's actually a video out there that you can go and see if you... Sorry. Where I found it was on Yahoo. And then there's a video actually under the Huffington Post. But the video, I think, is also on YouTube and other stuff, but they've set it to the Over the Rainbow, so it does have kind of the Wizard of Oz kind of feel to it, because, of course, that song was from the Wizard of Oz, or used in the Wizard of Oz. But it just kind of made me think about, maybe you're never too old to do some things that you want to try in life. And a lot of people... for the last few years have used the term bucket list. Of course, there was a movie out, Bucket List, where people have things that they want to do before they leave this earth. And so I just kind of out of curiosity wondered, do either one of y'all have a bucket list? Or is there any one thing that you've just always wanted to do? Or is there something that you've done in the past that was like something you've always wanted to do?
Well, I never thought that I had anything I might want to do, but sitting here listening to you, one thing I might, if I ever get the courage, might want to learn to swim. I have never been able to swim. I'm afraid of water, for one thing, because I almost drowned when I was 6, and maybe maybe that's something I'm not sure, but maybe that's something I might want to do.
We're gonna go to
If
the
I could
beach
learn
this
to
year,
swim without it getting up on my neck, I think I'd be okay.
We'll have to go on a calm day when the waters are smooth here. Some waves can get you here in Florida. But Kimberly, what about you?
I've always wanted to hang glide. I never really thought about it being on a bucket list. But I have this problem when I'm in high places. I'm not afraid of heights, but when I'm in a high place, I want to jump. So I figure if I had a hang glider, I could jump, and maybe I'd get over that.
Well, a few years ago, my husband and I, before we moved back to Pensacola, you guys both know, but we had been living in North Carolina for a short period of time. My husband was working there, and this was after Ivan. And while we were there, we found out about a balloon festival that was going on. Over 40 hot air balloons were all going to go up at one time. Well, while we're sitting there, we heard that you can go up in these hot air balloons. And I had told my husband that I had always wanted to ride in a hot air balloon. And I was like, oh, no, it's expensive, because it was expensive. We didn't have children yet, and, we weren't like, well, we still aren't rich, but you know what I'm saying. We weren't well off, but we weren't, not able to eat. And he's like, this is probably a once-in-a-lifetime chance, and let's do it. If you want to do it, let's do it. And we did, and it was so amazing. It was like floating. I mean, I don't know what I expected, but it was incredible. And we got to do every part of it. Like, we got to help with inflating the balloon. Of course, I was on the back end where I was pulling the strings, and as he started doing it and it started going up, I'm holding the strings, and it's pulling me across the ground. But then we got to get in the basket and ride, and my husband took tons of pictures. It was just incredible. And then we helped land it, which was kind of wild, because we landed, we missed, it was actually a game they were playing. It was kind of like cat and mouse type thing, where there was a lead balloon and it went off ahead, and then after a while it would drop like a flag or something. And what you had to do is try to get your flag dropped as close to it, and the one closest to it would win. That balloon would win. And they kind of missed the grand opportunity to drop it, and went too far to where it was getting back into the city. And so, needless to say, we landed on the backside of a school right by an apartment complex and kind of skidded across the road, because you can't do it where there's power lines and stuff around. And we skidded across the road, and all these little kids and everybody had come right out of this apartment complex and were looking at us and kind of cheering us on, and people drove by and stopped to help us get it packed up, because we did all of it from start to finish, and it was a really neat experience. And so I guess I've done one of the things that would have been on my bucket list. So it was very interesting, very fun. But if you have anything, that's another thing, is if you have something that you really just want to do before you leave this earth, share it with your family and friends. This grandmother was 92 years old, and she told her family, and even though they thought she was crazy, they wanted to see it happen. And they couldn't do it by themselves, but they found people that would help them get it done. And so you never know. Ask. So, I also wanted to talk about today, we've been hitting on, is the church harmful? Or we have not been hitting on it. We haven't hit on it on our show, but it's been a topic for the last few weeks on our 8 o'clock show. And we have several shows still coming up. I think we said we were going to do this for 4 weeks. And we have had a lot of guests that have come in and that have made their points known, because the place isn't about us just spewing what we have to say and that's it, and everybody buy and believe everything we say. It's about hearing everybody's opinion, not just hearing our beliefs, but hearing everybody's beliefs, and coming to a table of discussion to where we can interact with one another. We can learn from each other. We can grow from each other. And, I don't ever want to think that I know it all. I don't. I'm not an expert in any field at all. I never think I will be. But there's things that each of us can learn from each other. And so many people aren't open to that. And kind of before we talk about this, we had a crew member, fellow show member, Matt, who announced on T-Bog last week that his birthday is today. So happy birthday, Matt.
Happy birthday, Matt.
And he wanted for his birthday to have a ghost hunting type party. So he did, and we did, because we love Matt. We may not believe in it, but he does, and so we wanted to make him happy. So we met up here, and we had some food, and then we did this first and then had some food, but we kind of did like a little, not a seance, but kind of like talking to the ghosts or the spirits that might be in this old building. And Matt had his little equipment. It was a spectrometer thing or electromagnetic field thing. My son could probably tell you he remembered what Daddy told him. And then the other was like this scanner that scans the radio frequencies, and you're supposed to be able to hear them talk through the white noise. And so we did it, and, it was interesting. But I know in my mind I was thinking, God, 5, 6, 7 years ago or more, well, it's probably longer than that, there would have been no way. I think I would have had too much church in me or religion in me to even think that I wouldn't, go to hell if I participated in that. So what about you ladies? Do you think that...
Well, I think church is harmful for one reason. Most churches teach that we know it all, we're going to heaven, and all of these around us are not. So it makes you look at other people with a judgmental attitude,
right,
and wanting to change them. And I don't think that's good. Because it interferes with friendship. It even interferes with families. If they really have this doctrine that this,
I'm right,
this is
wrong.
it, and you have to believe this way, or else we won't have anything to do with you. And I think that's very harmful.
Right. And, I've experienced that because, I remember a day back when I was in church, and I was in church, Catholic. It was every single Sunday, because if you missed, it was a mortal sin and blah, blah, blah. But, I had family members who never went to church. And I don't ever remember thinking, oh, they're not living right, and they're bad, and they're awful. I had friends that didn't go to church except for when they stayed the night and went with me. And I think the more I got involved in church as a young adult and as an adult, I probably did, to some degree, think about why they weren't going. And, of course, you were taught to evangelize these people, to witness to them, to tell them that, they're sinful, and that, Jesus saved them, and they need to go to church, and they need to give their life to the Lord. And so I know that it had to come across my mind, but I don't remember ever thinking that I was judging them, but I guess I was, to be honest, because I was very us and them mentality, saved and lost, churched and unchurched. And I'm very glad to not be like that today, and to have stepped away from that, and to know that, whether they're sitting out home or out in a fishing hole drinking a beer, or whether they're, out committing a crime, that they're still loved by their Father. They've got problems. We all do. And they're loved by someone who treats them as someone who needs help and needs to be healed and lifted up and encouraged and restored, than someone who's told, oh, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, and blamed and put to the side because they're not worthy. And so that us versus them mentality has been in my mind, even though in a large degree I don't remember just saying, oh, well, so-and-so's going, to hell, or they're not saved, I need to save them. But it was there. Yeah. And nowadays, it's kind of like the opposite. The family members that used to not go to church have got religion. And so now I'm the black sheep, because I've stepped away from the traditional church, and my beliefs aren't the same as them. So now I'm the them instead of the us. But that's okay. So, Kimberly, what about you?
Well, to circle back to Matt's birthday party, my experience with church, especially my father, he was very much into mysticism, and there is a lot of mysticism in the Bible, especially the King James, which is to be expected since King James was a mysticist. But he would, I mean, there were angels and demons and spirits, and you had to be careful what you said and spoke. And even though that hasn't been part of my life since childhood, when we were here and one of the members that was here started hollering out, "Satan, come down and possess me."
Trying to be funny, of course.
They were trying to be funny, but I mean, there was a part of me that wanted to get up and go to the back and get some salt to circle, just in case one showed up. I don't want to be caught.
That I about fell out.
I don't want to be caught in the crossfire,
Just in case.
So even to said all that to say this, even when you come out of church,
Exactly.
there's, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, damage
Yes.
that has been done that you may not even realize until you're in a situation like this, and all of a sudden you find yourself, or part of yourself is going, "You're being ridiculous." The rest of you is going, "I gotta get to the back and get a salt shaker." Somebody give, because you don't know until it happens, but that's still there.
Right.
And it didn't matter, that I was telling myself it was crazy, because I still felt that fear, and it's directly related to having been indoctrinated as a child.
Right.
I've been really lucky because my first husband, he was a smart guy. He couldn't read very well, but he was a smart guy, and he was always looking into something else. He wanted to know all there was to know about the pyramids. He read, he had me read books called Masters of the Far East, and it's got some things in it that are different. He was into the Metaphysical Society. We went to meetings, different types of meetings, and this one lady invited us to her house, and we were supposed to talk about new types of gardening. Well, she wasn't there. She left to go because she was with the gleaners, and a field came open, and she had to go take care of that. And so we had these people we didn't know there, and this one lady was a fallen angel.
Ooh.
And this was her fourth time
Falling.
coming to earth to redeem herself, and she fell again. So
Alrighty.
we didn't stay very long at that meeting because it was just too far-fetched. It was something we didn't believe, although he questioned a lot about Bible. He had a lot of questions, but like I say, I was introduced, I should say, to a lot of different beliefs, and those people that had these different beliefs, and this is the way that I felt at that time. These people, although they believed different than me, they were good people. They were fun to be around, except for the fallen angel.
She was a little worrisome.
Yeah, but like I say, they were people just like me. They had the
Right.
same fears, the same joys, the same, they just believed a little different than I did.
Right.
And when they prayed in this one group, when they said a prayer, everybody was in a circle holding hands, and they prayed to God, Goddess, and all there is. They wanted to make sure they were covered. And me, I appreciated that they felt that they owed honor to more than just one,
Right.
And
Well, the thing is that we all are human beings. We're all on this big round ball, as Rhonda states sometimes, and I like to say in our little round ball. I don't know how she words it exactly, but we are. And like we stated earlier, there is something we can take away from each person that speaks.
That's right.
And we can put people in categories. We can do the us and them. We can do the lost and saved, church and unchurched, atheist, theist. We can do agnostics. We can do Pentecostal, Assembly of God, Catholics, Baptists. But we're all people.
right.
And I think, and I'm big on this, the more labels we have out there, the more divisions we have.
Exactly.
Eventually you'll find yourself one.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to, as much as we can, find a way to walk away from putting labels on people so that we can glean from them, because there is something that we can learn from everybody. And I know that the church, one of my biggest things with the church is, beyond the us and them thing, is the fact that anytime I had questions, from the time I questioned in the Catholic Church about mortal and venial sin and praying to Mary, I had literally had a priest tell me, "You're doubting your faith. and that's bad. And I left. And then I got involved in the Baptist church, and I had questions, but I think maybe I was already harmed by what I believed in the Catholic Church, and by asking those questions and told him that wasn't okay, that I didn't voice a lot of those questions. And then when I did voice any questions, it was kind of the same thing, that this is what the Bible says, and this is, But what other book out there do we take and we say, this is the be-it-all to end-all of everything about something?
Right.
Can you name one? I mean, if we took the Dr. Sears book about raising children and children's needs first 5 years, what is your birth to 5 years, whatever that book you gave me when my son was born, and I took that as gospel like they do with the Bible, oh my God, how messed up would my kid be? Because I can learn something from Dr. Sears, but what if Joe Blow, Cindy Lou, somebody wrote something that they'd learned, Or what if one of these rare diseases wasn't in this book,
Right,
and
exactly.
I think that we have to open our minds and not just throw the Bible out. Is it awful? Is it bad? Every bit of it? No. There's some things we can learn in there. We can learn that it is a book, and people that write books have thoughts, they have opinions, they have their own feelings and emotions and understandings of things that they put into these books. And so let's take it as a book. Let's look at it. Let's read it. Let's figure out what's good. Let's figure out what's bad. Let's figure out what's true. Let's figure out what's fiction. And let's go forward. And you're not taught that in church. You're told, believe it, believe it, believe it.
Yes.
If you doubt it, you don't have faith.
But as a mother, if you have more than one child, you and we do, each baby is different from the time they are put into your arms. They're different. There is no two alike. They're different.
Right.
And so you can't raise baby A and baby B the same way. You've got to look at their personality and know how to teach them that if you touch the stove, you're going to get burned in a way that, and it's different. You have to teach each child different. And and if you have to do that with your children, then you should look at everybody the same way. You can't treat everybody the same way. Everybody is different. They have their own likes and dislikes. They have their personality, and you have to accept them. That you have to accept them as they are and love them. I mean, if you don't, you're going to be miserable all your life.
Right. And like I said, we can keep labeling ourselves and keep putting ourselves, and I can't associate with this person because they're an atheist, and I can't associate with this person because they're agnostic, and I can't associate with this person because they're a Baptist. And pretty soon you've isolated yourself in this corner and you're by yourself because,
Right.
And be honest, how many people out there believe 100% exactly,
Nobody.
verbatim, A to Z, everything that you believe? Or feel the same way about everything, have the same emotions and the same background. And I mean, let's be honest, that's not realistic. And I like what you're saying about the kid and each kid different, because I honestly think that that's how God is with us. I mean, there are no two people out there that are exactly the same. Even twins have their differences. And we're all God's children. And we all have our problems. And my problems aren't your problems. We probably share some of the same problems, but we don't all have the same problems. And he's going to deal with us each differently. But one thing's true. He's going to deal with us all with love. And some people say, well, God's a just God. And but he operates his justice out of the love he has. It's not separate. It's not like his justice is over here and he's going to deal with people that do wrong. He's going to instruct them, guide them. Try to heal them, restore them. He's not going to, it's not separate. It's just not.
Yeah.
But that's my 2 cents, so.
Well, like me, I don't like the taste of alcoholic beverages, and that's just me. Some people do, and that's fine. But I don't, just because somebody wants to take a drink, it doesn't bother me. They can sit and I'll just watch them while they drink it, and it doesn't bother me because they have different tastes than I do. I don't like to see anyone let anything rule their body and take it over completely. That saddens me because they're harming themselves.
Right, and I think, and I've believed this for many years, that that's really probably the message in that, if those were the words of Christ. And I say that because our beliefs are still being shaped and changed by the more we dig into something. And I firmly believe what Dr. Jones has spoken about. Let's not put our brains in park and have fixed beliefs, because every day there's more information out there to learn, and there's new ways to find out information. And what we believe now, what I believe now is not what I believe 3 years ago, and what I believe 3 years ago is not what I believed 10 years ago, and 3 years from now what will, So let's give room to grow and to learn and to keep going, and see where we go. And so, let's keep an open mind. Let's keep learning. Let's keep our brains in gear. Keep asking questions. Keep thinking, and keep moving forward.
Yeah, and we expect our doctors to learn better how to take care of us. We would really be upset if our doctors followed 1900 medicine procedures. And we expect that of our physicians. We expect that of people that's manufacturing products. That we want them to make it better, so that our life will be easier. But we don't want our preachers to learn something new. We want them to stay with flat Earth science. We don't want them to change, and that's not good.
And most organizations, assemblies, or religious doctrine, I'm trying to say congregations or associations like Baptist, Catholic, whatever, they have their set doctrine, and they don't want you, and they even have people that teach it, that go to these seminaries and are going to be ordained to sign pledges that we will not. And that's how people, have lost their jobs. We've had Ivan Rogers on the show. We've had Jackson Bear and several people. I can't remember everybody. I've got the short brain syndrome. But they've had issues to where they had questions and they had things, and rather than talk it through and come to this discussion and try to understand or accept that somebody has a different belief, it doesn't fit our doctrine, it doesn't fit the mold we want you to fit, so be gone, type deal. And so many people, are starting to, or not so many people, but the more and more I see it, people are asking questions. They're willing to walk away from just being told what to think, or that you can't think outside this box, and if you do, you're bad, you're awful. And more people are starting to, I guess, say, well, consequences and whatever, I'm going to think and move forward. I'm going to, let myself evolve. I'm not going to be stuck, and I may lose my job, and then there's people that aren't able to do that. I know Dr. Jones has talked with people, from different colleges and different things and different schools that, they can't, or they won't at this time. They feel they can't. So, the more that we come to this table of discussion and do this, the better, we're going to be able to move forward together. I did want to mention that I would hope everybody would tune in tonight from 8 to 10. We're going to have John Kiefer. He's the president of the Florida Atheist on. And like I said, some people may just say, ooh, atheist, and, not want to tune in. But they have something to say, and they're a human being on this great big ball with us. So let's tune in and hear what he has to say, because at the place we're really wanting to be scripturally honest, spiritually honest, intellectually honest. We're wanting to hear other people's points of views and learn and discuss and, try to help each other, And then on March 2nd, we have David Silverman. He is the president of the American Atheist, and he will be here, as well as Eric Hoven from Creation Today. So we have some interesting shows coming up, and I believe the topic on both of these shows is still going to be, is church harmful? And so we've kind of given our little 2 cents on it today, and
3 cents.
3 cents, yeah, because
One
it's
apiece.
1, 2, 3. Okay. But let's tune in to these shows, both of them from 8 to 10, I believe, on Sunday night at the Place. And then, of course, we have Inspiring Honesty with Greg Bray and The Unconventional Pastor with Bob Greaves. We have Bob Graves. Sorry, I always do that. So sorry, Bob. And we have William Casado Torres, which half the time I don't understand what he's saying because I don't know Spanish, but maybe that'll be on my list of things because I would like to learn another language. And, I've just been told, and I knew he did one show, but apparently he's doing a lot of his show in English now. So that's interesting. I might have to turn that back on because I do turn it on and make a comment every once in a while. Hey, William, doing a great job. Don't understand what you're saying, but great job.
Sure, it's great.
So, but now I can tune in and maybe understand it. So, but we have T-Bog, also always funny, gives you a little comic break, a little breather in the middle of your day. So, and then What Would Love Do with our Texas studio, which we wish we could just transplant right next door, don't we?
That would be great.
We love them all and miss them. So, ladies, any final thoughts on, kind of what you think we can do to help people maybe still stuck in church, or some encouragement to them in really thinking about the harm that church does, or because I know we can't bash them over the head. They're where they're at. We've all been
Right.
there, and none of us got bashed over the head. If we would have, we probably would have turned around the other way.
Right.
And I think to some degree we did at least dig our heels in and say, nope, not budging. But then, we were able to think it through a little bit more. So what's something you would say, Ruth?
Mainly, we need to show them love. Always
Yes.
show them love. And when you have a chance, drop just one little phrase in or something that might cause them to think, because that's the problem they have. They're not using their brain. They're not willing to think about what they're being taught. So, but you can't just say, well, this is the way it should be, because all you're doing is shutting the door. So
Yeah, I agree. A lot of times that is the case. I mean, if you can give somebody your rhetoric or your 2 or 3 cents, and they're not going to hear a word you say because you're just preaching at them, basically, even though not preaching at them, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it, like you said, just leaving them with something to think about here and there, something to maybe cause them pause or cause them to think, cause them to rethink one little thing, and then maybe if they rethink that one little thing, that will open their mind to think about other things. I think that's probably the way I try and do it too. Now occasionally I get a load of get up and go and try and do it all at once, and usually that's when I get the door slammed in my face. So what about you, Kimberly?
Yeah, and I think that what I've noticed to be helpful is to usually when someone, especially in a religious situation, or as far as I've had experience, when they know you disagree with them, they expect a fight. And when they don't get it, it kind of takes the wind out of their sails, and then they're wondering why. Because usually, or at least when I was in church, it was you have to defend the faith.
Right.
And if you're not defending what you believe, but you're willing to say, okay, well, let's hear what you have to say and let's talk about it, it throws them off guard. It really does. And like Sister Ruth said, if you can do that lovingly,
Right.
then I think it makes a big impression.
Yeah, we definitely don't need to fall back into the us and them mindset of, well, we believe this, and we've come away from church, and
Right.
we no longer believe that there's a hell, and that, that God had to die as our sacrifice, and so everybody that still believes that's bad, bad, bad. We're all at, like I've always told the little kids that I've worked with in a church setting and now at the Place, that we're all on different levels of our understanding, in school, in life, in our relationship with God. And we can all, get there, and we're all going to get there, and He deals with us all where we're at. And I believe that, and I've always told the kids that. So, let's not let the harm that has come to us from the church cause us to continue to have the mindset of the us versus them still, even though it's not the saved, unsaved, church, unchurch.
Right.
Let's look at everybody as, just in the place that they're at, and kind of continue to move forward.
treat them in a relationship just like we do family. Like I have 2 sisters, And with the one sister, I have a different relationship with her than the other sister does. And it has to do with the personality of the three of us and how we think and this type of stuff. But you can't fuss at one sister or fuss at the other sister because they don't relate the same way you do. You just
Right.
take it as it is. You keep your mouth shut when you need to, and you give love when it's needed, and that's the way you do it. So that's the way you keep your halo straight.
Halo straight.
Yeah,
I thought it was keeping at least one horn up.
Oh no,
Sorry.
no. You keep the horns down and keep your halo on a level, so that it's not going this way or that way.
I'm over here cutting up. Sorry, had to do that in Rhonda's place. My partner in crime is not here, so I've kind of drug y'all along with me today, I think. We really enjoy getting together and talking. And I know when we first started this show, the show's changed a lot over the time that we've done it.
Yeah.
All of our shows used to be kind of, or, some of them used to be pre-recorded, and then we started doing some live and kind of went back and forth. But the live is a lot easier in some respects because it's easier, especially for the people that have to do the editing. But it's not easy because you're up here and you are live, and if you say something wrong, you say something wrong. But at the same time, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, because you don't feel like you're being zeroed in.
Right.
Like when we were doing our first shows, you felt, or at least I did. I don't know how other people feel, but I felt like I was being zeroed in, being put on the spot, and I always was uncomfortable with that.
Right.
And this way, it's more like we're just sitting here talking, and if they pick up the words, that's okay too. We don't care if they've got a hidden thing, So
Right, and that's the thing is when we first started it, the camera, even though it was filmed, the camera was like more in our face.
right.
And even though we could sit there and discuss things, the camera was more in our face. Now, we all know and we're all aware that there's a camera over that way and over that way. But we're sitting here discussing and the camera's picking it up, like you said. So it's a little bit different. So I like this setting. And,
We just need a table here with our cups of coffee on it. We'll be having
Yeah, I
coffee.
missed that.
Yeah, we do miss
coffee.
that. That's what I miss too. Is that I guess kind of like the view where they have their coffee cups and they're sitting there. And so, anyways, we've enjoyed this today, and as always, we enjoy talking, and we hope something we've said has helped one person out there today, or given you just something to think about, or laugh about, or just any of that. So tune in for all of our shows today. Tune in next week for Reflections. You don't want to miss it. And if you do, I think they're starting to put everything up, usually within the week, that takes place at the place on YouTube. So check out for those videos. Look for them, find them, share them with friends and family. And we hope you had a good time. I know we did. Thank you, ladies. Rhonda, hurry back.
Yeah, we
We
miss you.
miss you. Yep.
And that's all for today on Reflections. Bye-bye.
Bye.